on this.
Amazing. Welcome to our day late, but here nevertheless, PR session for the Be Inspired Mastermind. I hope you are all well. If you are catching on the replay, good, because this is one of my favorite sessions. You get so much value as part of this session, and also it sets you up for what to expect both in the run-up and directly after the event itself, because where PR is concerned, and Joe's going to go through all of this with you anyway, where PR is concerned, sometimes it isn't just in the run-up to the event to advertise the event, it's actually to share your story of your growth in the aftermath of the event as well. And that's where we want to set you up for success, where all areas of PR are concerned. So a little bit of background. Joe Swan and Chocolate PR are my wing team when it comes to PR. So they're the only PR company that I work directly with, and they have secured me the most phenomenal press. So I've been featured in pretty much every publication from Forbes magazine all the way through to Pick Me Up and everything in between. Even this week, they've secured me. Hang on one second. I don't know if you can hear, but they're all arguing outside.
Give them a quick bollocking.
Sorry, Dave's having a sleepover. I'm not facilitating, and there's all hell breaking loose outside. I don't know what's happening out there, but it was noisy. My apologies. So even this week, we're talking to nationals, and that's the consistent work that Joe and the team at Chocolate PR help us secure. We are in such safe hands when it comes to this particular event and all of our endeavours. Joe runs the most phenomenal programs. She does the most phenomenal one-to-one stuff. And also she is a huge part of Be Inspired in terms of having the Media Matters panel, where she brings members of the national press to come and run a panel. It actually gives you guys a bit of a breather once you've all spoke. It's our final sort of segment of the day is the PR panel to talk about, okay, so how do we then take these stories, this inspiration, how do we move it on? So Joe facilitates that forum with us as well. I'll let Joe tell you even more about what it is that she does and that Chocolate PR do, but I'm just so honoured for her to be here as a part of this mastermind. She's also Be Inspired alumni, so she has been exactly where you all are right now. So without further ado, please welcome to your session this evening, the gorgeous Joe Swan.
Thank you. Hi guys, it's nice to see some familiar faces. It's nice to see some faces I don't know as well, actually. I will know you very soon. So yeah, as Danny said, like I feel a massive part of Be Inspired because I've been with it from the beginning. So it's very, very special to me because I know the power of how it makes you feel as an individual. Like when you master this, when you stand up on that stage, when you have conquered those fears, which I was absolutely shitting it when I did it. Like I know how transformational that is for you to step into that and for you to own your message and your story and the delivery of that in a really entertaining and fun way. So I'm excited for you because I know how you're going to feel when it's all done, and I'm also excited for you because I know what opportunities it brings. So this cohort is one of the favorite things that I do working with Be Inspired guys, because you are so ready. So as part of my mission, it's to empower more entrepreneurs, more special people with special stories that are in business because they care and because they give a shit about something, to help you actually spread that message further and wider through the power of PR. And the way that you are prepared with the work that you do with Danny is like nothing else. So you guys are more prepared than our own clients because of what you've done before you even get to me. So you're in a great place. So I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel confident that you've got this. Whatever I'm talking about, even though it might feel out of your comfort zone initially because PR is not something that you've done, know that you are ready and know that you are perfectly armed to do this. So I'm going to take you through some slides because we need a little bit of structure and we need a little bit of focus. So, I can't share slides. 1 minute. I can now. Okay. Here we go. Okay, thumbs up, we can see. Yes, awesome. Right then, let's do this. Your PR power, that is what we are talking about today. So I'm not gonna spend too long on who I am, because I think Danny's done a lovely introduction. You don't need to know much more. I suppose, apart from the fact that I've been in media for a long time, so I've worked in media since for over 20 years, and I've worked in journalism, I've been a magazine editor, I've worked in radio, I've worked in online news, I've worked in features, I've worked across the board. So I kind of get what is. What was that? What was that weird feedback? I can't hear you.
I think Prash had two pieces of tech on the go, so it was creating feedback.
I thought it was me. I was like, how have I done that?
Echo.
Weird. Okay, sorry, I will carry on. So yeah, so just basically saying, like, you know, I know what the media needs and what they want, which I think is really useful for you guys. And I've also worked with really, really massive businesses. So in the early days of my business, we worked with corporates a lot. We worked with big businesses, and we worked with massive household names and retailers and banks and building societies. And I've learned a lot about what works effectively in the media. But the thing that I feel is really important is that PR is not just accessible to those people with big budgets and those people with massive teams and those people with massive brands behind them. That PR is actually much more about people like you, people that have got real stories, people that are real humans, people that don't have another agenda of why they're using PR to try and connect their audience to their values. You are very real with your message, and that gives you a massive, massive advantage. So PR is not just for the big boys. So we want to get rid of that misconception. If that is a misconception, it's absolutely available to you. And actually, the media needs you and prefer to work with you, because in this day and age, they don't like brands trying to use PR to play the game. They kind of know how it works. Journalists are not stupid, and they know when big brands are manipulating the media through the use of PR. So actually, they really, really love connecting with real people and real stories. So it's not just for the likes of Sir Richard, who likes to swan around and create his own PR. It's real PR is about real people. So thinking about how to be successful at PR, these three things here are really, really important elements of PR. And I think these are some of the reasons why I've been successful with Danny's work. So because Danny is a dream client who is up for anything.
Who also read batshit.
Happy to be led creatively, and she leads us creatively as well. It's a fabulous team effort. We were always coming up with something that is PRable, and she's a master of communicating, so she's completely comfortable with having that conversation, because PR is about conversation. It's not about a one-way street. It's not one-way marketing. It's not about shouting at people and telling them who you are and what you do. It's about actually thinking about how you can leverage conversation and discussion and debate, which, you know, all of your talks have been created with a view to doing that. So your talks are prime PR content, prime PR fodder, because what they're trying to do is communicate with people. And the art of PR really comes down to storytelling. So again, a lot of you guys actually already do this, that you do it through your social posts. You do it, you don't even really notice, and you're doing it a lot of the time. And if you can pull these elements into your PR approach, then you're going to be onto a winner. So creative communication, storytelling, three really, really key things of successful PR. The other key thing about being successful at PR is being prepared to be different and being prepared to stand out. So this is something that is essential, because the media, it's not their job to unpick you. It's not their job to try and work out what the little golden nuggets are that you're hiding. It's their job to celebrate and to showcase you if you can prove that you're worth it. And I don't mean that in any sort of way of, well, you're not worth it. You absolutely are worth it, but you've got to be able to show them that you are. You've got to be able to prove to them that you are. You've got to be prepared to stand up and to stand out and be different. So it's that case of just thinking about, right, what is it that makes me unique? What is it that makes my message uniquely mine? and really, really own that. And you are doing that as part of this process. So we're on to a winner. So that's a little tick we've got going on already. And in terms of, again, generating your kind of optimum success at PR, it is a little bit of a game. You have got to play a bit of a game, and we have experienced this massively with Danny. We've got certain things we want to say, but you know what? To get them out there, we might have to say something else that gets us the door opener in the first place. You know, we never go out with anything that's not in line with our values, but we use opportunities to open doors. So your best assets from a PR point of view are your story, which you've obviously been working on, your mission, so your overall goal in terms of the change that you want to make in the world, and having something to say. So do not be scared to have opinion. Opinion is what we need. And again, I'm thinking we're ticking all these boxes with your talks. So this is amazing. So I'm just going to run through these points with you here in terms of kind of understanding some of the rules of the game of putting the work in behind PR, because you do have to do a little bit of work. It doesn't all just happen. There are some things that you've got to be aware of and you've got to commit to. So the first part on here, where we're talking about respecting PR, what I mean by this is you've got to respect kind of the rules of PR. So PR is not advertising. PR is not going out there and just trying to sell your stuff. Like it's not straight promotion. It's much cleverer than that, and it's got much more depth than that. So to be able to get really juicy, meaty PR, we've got to storytell, not sell. And that is fundamentally it. We've got to storytell, not sell. And when we storytell, we have to put ourselves in the place of a journalist. So we have to do the hard work for them. We've got to commit to building that story, and we've got to understand what we need to deliver them to provide them with that story, because they don't live to give you free promotion, and you know they certainly don't want to be digging around trying to find out all the details. We've had loads of Danny's articles that have been written word for word because we have literally fed it to them on plate, haven't we? Like here it is, it's all blurred
Spoon fed it.
It's ready. And that is just exactly what you want, because then it can't be messed with, it can't be adapted, it's in her exact words. So we've got to do that work to get our stories ready. And we've got to make their life easy, and we've got to know what is going to suit our media as well. So there's no point in just sort of whacking our content out to every single piece of press that we can think of. We've got to make sure our media is very, very targeted. So we might have the same story for Danny, but we might write it 5-10 different ways, depending on who we're approaching and their audience and the types of content that they run. So it is really super, super helpful to do a little bit of media research and to really focus your media very specifically at their needs. The other thing that you can be doing, so in the background to sort of prepare yourselves for when you do send out some content, is start to build relationships. And I can't tell you how much of a difference this makes. So it's a bit like with anything, like if you're going to try and cold sell something, it's always going to be harder than if you've got a little bit of a relationship going, if you've kind of warmed someone up in the first place. And it's exactly the same. So we want you to become a part of the journalist network so that they know who you are, so that you are on their radar, so that they've got some form of recognition when you then try and pitch to them. So the easiest way to do this is actually on Twitter, because that's really where journalists prefer to hang out. So some of them you will find on Instagram, some of them you will find on LinkedIn, but actually Twitter is where they do most of their work. So if you can hunt out the journalists that you would love to be in connection with, that you would love to get on your radar, then actually following them on Twitter, sharing some of their content, getting in a little bit of a conversation with them is a really great thing that you can just do in the background. And number 5 is, I suppose, a little bit of a reality check that, do you know what, PR does take a little bit of work, and it doesn't always happen as quick as you might like. Sending one press release doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get in the media. So we've got to stay focused, and we've got to not give up, because we understand the purpose of it and the point of it and the power of it. So a few little rules of the game there, just to kind of set the scene. But you are totally, totally ready for this, like I said, and you've already done half the work. So you guys have got a story already. So how are we going to use your story to get in the press? This is where we're getting to the juicy bits. So I'm diving straight in. This is what we are going to do. So don't look at this yet. Don't read it yet. Like, don't be overwhelmed by this page. Just ignore it for a minute.
Everyone just shat themselves like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
I'm going to get rid of it, in fact. It's fun. You never saw it. So what we are going to do for you is we are going to use your talk as an opportunity for you to introduce yourself to the media. And we are going to do this in 2 ways. So we are going to introduce yourself to your local press predominantly before the event. And we are also going to tell you how to introduce yourself to the media after the event. So doing something like Be Inspired is a massive door opener. It's an opportunity for you to make contact with the media on the back of something very worthy that you're involved in. And actually, sometimes it takes the pressure off because it's not all about you. You know, you're promoting the event as well as just your own story. So the best way to get yourself in local media is to write something that's called a press release. And a press release is basically writing a ready-made media article as if the journalist has written it. So the style of the press release is as if I have written it as a journalist and I am spreading this news and I have interviewed you to get all of this information, and then it's presented back as if it's a done deal. And this is where they copy and paste it, because this is where it reads as if they have written the article, but actually you've done all the hard work. So this is a tool that's used all the time in the media, and it's a tool that requires a lot of structure. So it does require a certain way of writing. It requires that you follow a certain order, and it requires that you include certain stuff, right? So we have created a template for you to enable you to do this. So that's the thing that I'm going to show you in a second. So what we do, we create a template press release where we basically fill in loads of the gaps and we highlight the bits that you guys have to edit with your own personal information. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to get the best possible results. Okay, I'm going to show you the scary page again. So what we recommend with this opportunity is to start with your local media, because your local press are the easiest ones to approach from scratch, because the local media love a success story. They love celebrating someone from their local area who is rising. They love celebrating someone from their local area who is doing something significant, who is making a difference, who is on a mission. So we want to connect with that emotion, that power, that energy of them actually wanting to support you. So we would always recommend that you start with your local media. And the great thing about events is they are timely. So they happen at a certain time, which means you get the currency of that hook. You get the currency and the relevance of it being now. Because that's your other challenge when you go to the media and you're trying to get them to write stuff about you. Well, why should I write about you right now? I've got all this stuff to write about. I've got that thing to write about. Why should I write about this thing right now? Well, actually, because it's happening on this date. Like, there's a very real urgency of why they should cover that. So absolutely use that to your advantage. The other thing that you've got as your advantage in here is the charity connection. So the connection to the Fly Anyway Foundation gives you another leg up, because anything that involves a charity automatically gets PR points. Like, it's just the way the world works. It automatically elevates you above stories that are just looking a little bit more commercial, a little bit more promotional. The charity hook is a massive, massive angle for you to use. And what I love about these event press releases is it does all of that work for you. So it opens the door to media. It gives you something to celebrate, something that you're a part of, something bigger than not just your story. But what it also does is it gives you a chance to tell your story. Because if the local media are going to write about you being a part of this event, well, they're going to have to explain who you are. and they're going to have to explain what mission you're on, and they're going to have to explain what you are doing in this world. Like, why have you set this business up? Oh, well, that's interesting. Oh, well, what did you do before? Oh, well, that's interesting. And so you get a real opportunity to actually tell a little bit of that backstory, to put it into context in terms of who you are and what you're all about. So this is like a little snippet of the press release template that we give you. And I'm just going to talk you through so that you can see basically how it breaks it down. So this is what a press release looks like. It's got a headline here. It's then got kind of little subheaders here, which are telling the media like the kind of quick and dirty information, like that kind of instant stuff that they need to get a grasp of. And then we start to go into the detail of the event. Now, this is actually an example from last year. We haven't written this year's up yet. It will be coming to you very soon, but this is an example of the previous one. So you can get a little feel for it. So all the areas in green are basically the areas that you would add in your specific details. And it's not rocket science, like we've made it as simple as possible. So you literally put in where you are from, because it's important that when you're talking to your local press that they get super instantly that you are local and that you are relevant to them. So you put in where you're from there. And then you would put in what your title is. So by that we just need your job title, or how you refer to yourself. So whether it's psychologist, coach, whatever it is, then that bit goes in there. And then you can pretty much leave the rest the same, unless you want a bit of creative license and you want to play with the headline a little bit. Okay, so the next bit, exactly the same, where you're from and your actual description of your job role. And then on the next line, we want to know your talk title and literally a line about what it covers, so that they get a real grasp of it really quick. So we don't want War and Peace at that point. We just want a one-line description of what your talk is. And then the rest of it, we will change the details to obviously be this relevant next event. Okay, so we introduce who you are and what you'll be talking about. So that's the only other bits that you need to add in here, just a little bit of detail on what advice you will be sharing, or if it's your story that you're sharing, a tiny little snippet about the top line sort of subject, topic areas that you will be covering in your talk. So these green bits don't want to be like paragraphs and paragraphs, they literally want to be a word or a line. So we're keeping it really succinct. Okay, and then we need to add your name and your age. And people always say this, people always ask, why do I have to put my age in? I don't want to put my age in, but it is just a thing that every journalist does, isn't it? Literally every journalist will always ask, oh yeah, what's your age? And I think it's to do with like their readership, and they've got to show that, you know, that they're covering diverse range of people or whatever, but they will always ask for your age. So even if you don't put it in, that's just going to piss them off, and they're going to come back and ask you your age. So just put it in.
Like by Danny Wallace, age 38 and a half.
I know we forget how old you are, don't we? Because we've got loads of press that like content that we use, and we're like, oh, she's actually not that age anymore.
She's had a birthday now, she's old.
Oopsie. So yeah. So you add the details in there, and then we will edit this part about who we've actually got like sharing the stage with you this time. So you don't need to worry about any of that bit. This next section is your opportunity to basically tell a little bit of your backstory. So this next section is where you have got a chance to say why being on this stage is important to you. What message is it that you want to spread? Why does this message need to be spread? What is the impact that you are hoping to make? So that's your opportunity to basically kind of beef up this story with a chance to tell your story. Okay, so the first bit is very much this is what the event is, and that's your currency hook. That's like why they're going to write about this now. But then you don't want to miss the opportunity of feeding in and just telling them a little bit about you and what you're all about. Is this making sense? Are we getting this? This is making sense. So you get an actual Word document with this all broken down, and it's not much longer than that. There's literally like another couple of paragraphs underneath. So it's not a hard thing to do. It's the structure is there for you, and that is the most important bit, that the flow's right. We know the right information is there. it's just thinking about how you present yourself, and you use this as a chance to basically tell your business story as well. So that's something that is coming your way. And then in terms of actually issuing that press release, we create a local media list for you. So Anna is going to tell us where you are all based, and we will create lists of media that you can send this press release to. And we will also write you a little introduction email so that you've got it positioned exactly right. So you can just copy and paste that, just amend that, and give you exact information about what to include in that email. So this is like being really fed to you, really handed to you to make it as easy as possible. And then what you might be able to expect as a result of this, there's two different ways that the media might choose to use this information. So they may write a story about the event and you being a part of that event, which is what we want. And you would need to send a nice photo of yourself that goes with it, usually a landscape picture, because for the online ones particularly, they like to have that kind of banner look, like that one of Danny there. So make sure you've got a decent photo to send with it. And this basically came from a press release, so literally copy and pasted word for word. So that's something that you could expect to generate on the back of you sending that press release off to your local media. The other opportunity that is also worth exploring, some media have events listings within their newspapers, within their local magazines, or within their online sites for the local area. So just check out and see whether that's something that is also an opportunity. And then what they prefer is much more of a sort of concise overview of that event. So the details of the event, a little bit of context about it, and a quote from you about why you're excited about being there. So some of these bits live in like the business diary section. So for example, in our Yorkshire media, they've got like a little business diary section in the business news. And this is the kind of content that they would put within there. So they wouldn't do a whole press release in there. They would just use this kind of information. So this is about really getting to know what your opportunities are, doing a bit of research now while you've got a little bit of time, and actually just finding, do they run events listings? Do they have a diary section? Do they have a news section for small businesses? Where are you going to target this? And just start to do that bit of research. And the other thing that I also want to mention is if your particular media has got a people section, that also does really well normally for this kind of stuff. So if there's a people section, if there's a profile section, also target those ones, because they really like this human interest kind of angle, this human interest side of things. So this is a fabulous example of how you can also use PR in the follow-up to the event. So we want you to try and get coverage as part of your promotion for the event. And some media will do that, but they won't all. Some of them won't all cover it that way round. But some of them might prefer to do it as a post-event piece, to say that you've done this talk and that you've got the pictures to show for it and you're celebrating the impact that you're making. So this is a piece from Louisa, who was a previous Be Inspired cohort member, and she was brilliant at using her opportunities, and she used the event as a launch pad to basically share her wider business stories. So just like I was saying, and so the angle around this was actually much more around, well, she's quit teaching and she's launched her own business, and she used this stage to basically share her mission. So that's another thing that you can consider doing. Actually, post-event, it's much more about you and your message rather than the event itself. So always have this double-pronged attack. Certainly try to get some pre-event coverage. And we're doing this session with you a little bit earlier than usual, so that you've got a bit more time to just think about this, to get your ideas together, to get your head together, and to also just kind of get your content prepared so that you don't feel like you're rushing it too much. You don't feel like you're leaving it to the last minute. So have a little think about what parts of your story are going to be the ones that really come into play and that you really want to showcase. And the photos that you get back from Be Inspired are incredible. They're stunning. So they absolutely should be a part of your post-event content that you can put out. Because yeah, that just lifts the page, doesn't it? Like what journalist wouldn't want to use that picture? So there's lots of opportunities there. Okay, so what the important thing to always come back to is speaking from your mission. Because all the stuff that I said at the beginning about how, you know, you've got to make it easy for a journalist, they're not into promoting businesses as such. They are into showcasing incredible people. So it's super important that you are really clear and you always lead from your mission. So you don't just lead from, hi, I'm speaking at this event, it's going to be amazing, it's run by Danny Wallace and this is what we're talking about. You come at it from a point of view, hi, this is me, this is what I do, this is why I do it, because this impact needs to be made in the world, or because I've experienced this and I don't want other people to experience this. This is my mission. You have got to come at it from that bigger picture. So it's really a great opportunity for you to start to own that mission and that message that is coming out, I don't doubt, through your talks. And this is just another chance for you to really solidify that and to really own it. So that's just like a little reminder that we've got to go in with our hearts. We've got to kind of really connect to this. And that's where you're going to get the best results from the media. Okay, so moving on to other opportunities that you can do post-event. And you might want to come back to this later. So this might not be something that you particularly feel like you want to digest right now, that you want to focus on right now, but I'm telling you so that you can come back to it and that you've got all this information. Because once you've done the local stuff, hopefully you'll get excited and you'll get excited about what's possible and you'll get excited to see that story spreading and your message spreading and your reach increasing. And when you start to then expand that out into national media, it just explodes. Like the reach is just absolutely insanely amplified. And the power of it is massively amplified. So we're not necessarily going to get national media talking about you being a part of this event. We try and get national media on behalf of Danny about the event as a whole, but you as a speaker should be honing in on your story and honing in on your talk and honing in what message you are trying to get out through that talk. So what I want you to think about doing post-event is really honing in on the subject area of your talk. And maybe after I've gone through the slides, you can talk to me about what your talks are, and we can see where we think there's opportunities, because it's really important to be very personal with this and very specific. So there's lots of opportunities for female entrepreneurs, particularly around in this Female First publication. There's lots of features that are available for you guys to actually share your stories and your mission and your purpose, because they are very much into featuring passion and purpose-fueled individuals. So there's a real opportunity to go and hunt out some of these places that like this real life stuff, that like this behind the scenes stuff, that like to share the stories of people behind their businesses, and just really think about the kind of content that would suit you. So that's one that you could definitely have a little look at. Woman and Home, this was a really lovely win for Kate Morris Bates. I know some of you might know Kate. And this one was much more subject based. So whatever it is that's in your talk, you can replicate that content and you can find somewhere to pitch it, because there'll be people ready and eager to lap up that advice, whether it comes in the style of some tips, whether it comes in the style of more of a personal story and an experience. There's so much that you can do with this content that you are building up. You can knowledge share it, so you can turn it into more blog type content and pitch content that's literally very compartmentalized. So that is literally just a case again of finding a really powerful way of communicating that message. And your talk title might be your headline. You know, I'm sure some of you have got talk titles that are instant headlines. So just then it's about exploring and thinking about, well, where could this sit as content? Where else could I spread this message as content? And that does take a little bit of research, but just know that it's available to you. And all you need to do with that is to write it in a little bit more of a blog style piece. So between like 500 to 800 words, I'd say, and break it down into paragraphs, break it down into real kind of digestible sections, and with some really direct tips in there if you can, and just sort of top and tail it with your story and your mission. So there's lots of things that you could explore there, like post events. And just being aware as well of the different types of publications that cover different types of subject area. So you might think, oh, the Telegraph, I'm not really sure how that's going to fit. But if you dig deeper, you start to find what sections they have that have got a need for content. So if you see the Telegraph has got a lifestyle section, within that lifestyle section, it's got a health and fitness section. Within that section, it's got a body, mind, and nutrition section. So for a lot of you, you're going to be able to find something that slots into one of those subject areas. This example was from one of our clients, Emma, who was talking about imposter syndrome, and actually how it really has given her a lot of severe mental health challenges. And so she identified we identified for her that there was an opportunity within the Telegraph, who basically were regularly looking for content for this mind section, which was all around mental health and people being brave enough to share their stories. I'm sure you guys have got something that we could contribute to there. And Marie Claire, another example, again, you might think, oh yeah, kind of, it's a fashion-y magazine. They've got loads and loads of content around mindset and psychology and mental health. So look deeper, always look deeper, and really, really dig to see where you think your content could fit. And then this is really important. So when you have created your talk, you have obviously you've created yourself as an expert, haven't you, on a certain topic, or you have showcased yourself as being passionate about a certain subject area in terms of what elements of your story you've been prepared to share. So what is super, super important from a PR point of view is to then be consistent about that. So to then make sure that that subject area is something that you are 100% owning, that you are taking, and that you are showcasing yourself for. So this example of Marie is basically, she came out of nowhere. She was absolutely super shy. She was super uncomfortable about being seen, about being visible, but she was super passionate about her work, and her work was helping other people who had suffered menopause symptoms, kind of undiagnosed, and who were struggling in the workplace. Quite niche. And Marie's story basically fit in with that. She'd been treated really badly at work, and she'd been basically sort of forced out of her really high profile career. So she decided to own this. She decided to own this message. She decided to really direct her coaching around people that needed help, that were stuck in that situation. And we created content really consistently that rinsed and repeated the same messages. And what that meant was she became known for coaching people through menopause. She became known for confidence in menopause, for leadership in menopause. She became known for lots of things that were personal development wise to do with menopause. Okay, we were building this profile for her around this subject area. And what happens then is you create a footprint, you create a media footprint. So very much like with Danny, we talk a lot about the same subjects. What we're doing is we're creating a media footprint for those subject areas, so that when the media are looking for people in those subject areas, Danny is being found. And this is exactly what happens with Marie. So we rinsed and repeated her message really, really clearly, really concisely, to the point where she was found by Forbes. And Forbes approached us to see if she would write a piece for them around World Menopause Day. Marie, like, I don't know, nearly died of shock. Like, she was like, what, me? Are you kidding me? Because in her eyes, she wasn't worthy of being in Forbes, but we had proved that she was, because she was consistent in her message, and they recognized her from an outside point of view as someone who absolutely was owning that space. And since then, oh my God, her business has exploded. Like, she will tell you quite happily the impact that had on her business, had on her own confidence, which I think is actually a big part of it, but then also the confidence in that others had in her from her getting that recognition. So really, really important to own your topic, to really grab onto the thing that you are talking about in this talk and ride that wave. So even if that's not going to be the thing that you talk about forever, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be the be all and end all of your entire business or your entire marketing forever. But ride the power of it, even if it's just for a little bit, because being consistent and repeating the same message is super, super powerful. So don't do the talk and then just go, oh, that was a nice talk. Like, yeah, I'm done now. Own it, own it, own it, repeat, repeat, repeat. So I just want to touch upon the power of these. I'm not going to go into this in loads of detail because, again, this is something really for post-event stuff. But when you get to a point where you would like to look at wider media opportunities, then having something like a media bio is a smart move, basically. So a media bio is something that brings together your story into one place. It brings together your story, your mission, your business, your results, your impact. It brings together loads and loads of different things. And it just makes you a little bit more press ready when it comes to doing some of the bigger stuff. So like going for some of the bigger national stuff or pitching yourself, you know, as an expert for things moving forward. So this is what a media bio looks like. We are more than happy to let you have templates and guides on how to create these. So it's just really for anyone, if anyone feels like it might be something they want to explore later, just showing you what those options are. And then I just want you to get a little bit excited about what is possible, because you too could have some amazing trust tags like this. So yes, we're saying start with local PR, but actually it opens doors for loads and loads of opportunities. And this is one of our clients, Alison, who got all of these trust tags within, well, I don't know, well within 12 months, like probably less than that, to be honest. And it just goes to show that it's just about consistently putting yourself out there and consistently claiming your space and your message. And your audience really does get excited when you do this. So you will see when you start to share the PR that you're taking people with you on your mission, and that you're exciting them, that you are stepping up, that you are on this mission, that you are spreading this message, and they're like, yeah, go you, go you. Like they want to celebrate you and share you. And that is a super powerful ripple effect. So again, something to kind of ride the wave of. So I don't want you to just think about what you can do here and now. I do want you to dream a little bit and think about, you know, where this could go, because why not? Like, you all deserve to have your message out there, banging loud and proud in these big titles. But you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start with these baby steps. You've got to start getting ready and understanding how the media works. So I want you to think about this. I want you to be excited by this. And I want you to know that by going through the process, that you're getting closer to this. So you could definitely get this one. You could get this trust tag straight off, like your BBC local radio would give you that lovely trust tag. So yeah, no reason why we can't start there anyway. So this is really what I want you to kind of connect in with when you're thinking about this PR stuff, when you're thinking about being brave and putting yourself out there to the media and being bold, because you've got to own your space. Why wouldn't you? You've gone through all this process. You've got something important to say. You've got to be bold, and you have got to be beautifully you. Like, you 100% have got to own what you have to say, what you want to contribute to this conversation. It's so, so important. And you've got to stand behind that. So I want you to really connect the power of going all in and going all in with being you. So just to wrap up, these are a couple of little offers that we only offer you guys. So this is a special little deal that only you guys get. So you already get the press release template done for you. You already get a local media list done for you. But if you wanted any extra help, then these are just a couple of things that we can offer you at a massively discounted rate, just so that you know that that is an option. So I'm not pushing you into any of that. It's just, that's a choice if you need any extra help.
This is an additional call to action. And remember that Jo has been through training with me, and I would expect you guys to do the same. If you was to go and guest and bonus on people's courses and things like that, I would fully expect you, if you was to do a deal for that particular. Jo doesn't do this for just anybody.
No.
And everything that she offers are things that I've utilized and bought and paid for and seen phenomenal success with. So I would always, actively encourage Joe, and indeed all of you, to share that sort of stuff right at the end. So yeah, thank you so much for doing those discounts for us, because it's phenomenal.
You are welcome. And do you know what? It's because you guys, you are ready. Like,
They're
you
ready, yeah.
are more ready than a lot of people that actually, you know, you're a bit further down the process. So it's all good. So I'm going to stop those there now and just see if you've got any specific questions, or if anyone wants to share their talk details with me. Although I can't.
Zoe's just asking, can you go back to the offer discounts?
Oh,
yes,
sorry.
she can.
I know, I clicked over that page.
So, and make sure that you're following Joe as well, Joe Chock PR on Instagram, and then follow her over on Facebook as well. And you want to get in the groups that she runs, because they're just brilliant places to be, A, from a networking perspective, and B, from an opportunities perspective.
Yeah, and we're running a free, we're running like a PR party from the 28th of Feb, where we are asking everybody that comes and gets involved to celebrate themselves. So as part of that, you would have a chance to tell everyone what you're doing at Be Inspired, to talk about what your talk is, what your mission is. So, you know, that would be a great place to come and hang out. So that's in PR, you can do it, that group there. So yeah, just in terms of what you get for this, so the mini campaign is basically, we would actually do the PR for you. So we would write the press release and we would send it out, and we would kind of coordinate that whole thing, which is like where some of the fear comes from sometimes of actually talking to journalists. So that takes that off your hands basically for that. And then the media bio is where we would actually create that document for you. So it's based on a survey, it's based on a set of questions. And then we do a call with you as well, a one-to-one call to just dig deep and make sure we've got everything. And then we write that document, which is like a beast. So that's what those bits are, and that's where you can follow us.
All right, we've got some questions over in the chat, just, and you were really in flow, so I didn't kind of want to stop and just check in. So there are a couple.
Yeah.
And a couple of sort of reservations around local press as well, which is totally understandable. So
cool.
I think it'd be worth going in there and having a little squeeze. So Fiona's got a couple of questions. So is it best to tell the press where you live, where you were born? I live in Warrington. I think that was answered in the thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you're from a different place to where you live now, you can double whammy it. And we do that quite often. So if you're from a certain place, you can send a press release going, born and bred, you know, mum of two from so-and-so is celebrating, be a part of this global movement. There you go. Mum of two who lives in blah, 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 where you live now, you can get away with it doing that way. So you can double whammy that.
Then we've got Mel, who's saying, this is amazing, which it is. I'm pretty scared of local press as my family name has a background. It does make me panic about being visible in this way, but I know I need to do it and try and distance myself somehow. I've got a little bit of advice for this.
Yeah, you know how this feels.
Oh, yeah, very much so. I'm relatively well known in the Preston area anyway, because of my singing from beforehand. And also my previous partner, my ex-partner, is kind of relatively well known enough for it to, if I was visible, for me to be talked about at the pub, for example.
Yeah.
And then I had to and the stuff with my dad as well. My dad was he was leader of the Lib Dems for the whole of Preston. So from a political point of view, my dad was known. I was sharing things about the past where my dad was concerned. But when you're sharing good things, the other stuff that may potentially cloud your good name aren't really bothered about in that moment in time. Anything that's happened previously tends to be yesterday's cat litter lining as well. And that's kind of how I think about it. My fear at the time was to come out as somebody who's experienced domestic abuse, have people who know me and people who know my former partner whip up stuff, or have people talk about me in the background. And I just have to remember that A, I'm helping who I'm helping, and B, are the people who are going to be doing that talking my ideal client? Are they the people that I want to help? Are they actually, is that where I frequent anymore? Do I go to those places anymore? Am I even going to bump into those people anymore? Chances are no. If they're going to cause a problem for me, they're all blocked. So distancing yourself is relatively easy to do. It's more behind the eyes, between the ears, that you've got to create that distance.
Yeah. And actually how powerful it is to create a little bit of a digital footprint that changes that narrative, you know, that has something really positive. So yeah, try and reframe it, but I know it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's a difficult one. I think becoming visible is something that for the first time, if it's not something that you're used to really, then once you step into it, you realize that actually getting those footprints and these beginner footprints is probably the scariest. The more press that you get, the more you realize you just avoid the comments, you stay out of the way of it, and just focus on who it is that you want to help. So Samantha's saying this amount of visibility definitely makes me nervous, especially locally, for lots of reasons. Is it essential? I'm not even sure that my avatar is local. Jo, I'll let you, I've got something to say about it, but Jo, I'll let you answer.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk to you about the power of local, because it's not about necessarily reaching your ideal audience directly.
No.
So there's a couple of things there. The media likes people who have been in the media. So it's a little bit a part of playing the game to kind of prove that you are prepared to be seen and be recognised. And actually national media often feed off local media. So there's lots of times when we've had national opportunities come from them seeing the regional media first. So it's a ripple effect. It does generate ripple effect. When you're in the BBC database, so let's say you get on BBC Radio, you're in the BBC database, like the actual BBC database. So that could lead to BBC like national radio, BBC TV. So it's a part of that stepping stone. And the other thing is that they're more likely to say yes to you for a piece like this. So they're more likely to actually cover the story celebrating a local person. So you're likely to get a quick win from it. And then what you manage to do is you create that ripple effect online. So it's not just the people that read that piece, it's the amount of times that you can then spread that piece in your will to create that ripple effect and that energy around you as well. So those are a few reasons why I think actually there is power in local press. Danny, what else were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when we're starting on PR, it's like building up a foundation first. So I already, before I even got involved with Jo, had previous in local press. So I would go on, babes, I would go to the opening of an envelope. That's what, I would go to anything and try and get my face in any picture and get my name in any article. And the reason being is because that then created the footprint for them. When I get checked out now by press, I've had press, I'm press ready, I've got some sort of story, I've got form. So yes. I mean, in the local area, I'm known for really great sound bites, but now in national press, I'm known for good sound bites. I'm known to be a good writer, for example. And that's only, if I'd have gone in cold, that would be more difficult to grab hold of. So it's almost using your local press as a means to an end. It's great. And it's great if you're running something locally, but when your aspirations are more national, we start there to build the foundation, to just kind of get your foot in so that then you can build from it. And that's exactly how I've grown my press footprint. So now I write for the Metro, for example, which is crazy.
It's not crazy, it's cool.
Still mental. I still can't get my head around it. But actually, having written pieces for publications like the Metro now is just insane. But
can I just add something in there, if that's okay, in response to my question?
Yeah.
You mentioned before about, well, actually you can do the double whammy if you live in a place but grew up somewhere else. Mm. Well, maybe I could just go with the place that I grew up and not where I live now.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Maybe, because my concern is that if I'm potentially to have impact in my story, I need to reveal some things that maybe other people don't know and that could be damaging to somebody else. And I would never want that to happen, whatever, I've heard Danny say before, well, they should have been nicer to me.
They don't like what they've done to you. It's not about them. They won't like to read it back.
Yeah, exactly. But also I don't want to be the person that then means that they lose their job or, so I wonder if I could maybe just go with the place that I grew up rather than the place that I live in now to kind of solve that problem.
Even if you do that, that's still likely to make it online, even if it's local in a different area. So it's still likely to live somewhere online where anyone could get to it. So I think that is more down to the detail of what you're actually putting in the content and being comfortable with what you're putting out there.
Yeah,
I think Michelle's a great example of this. Michelle, would you agree? Oh, I think you just put your hand up. Was you going to say that? You can allude to stuff.
I was literally going to say that, and that's why I took it down, because I was like, I've got nothing else to add. Yeah, I think it's so some of them part of my journey. I don't share all my bits and pieces because there's no one else's fucking business, to be fair. What I choose to put out is what I choose to put out. Reframing works really, really well, and if you only ever share what you're comfortable sharing, because I can tell you now, even if you write something and it's picked up in Scotland, wherever you live, they will find it. I'm telling you, because they are just, some journalists are really, really vicious. Some aren't, some are decent, but once it's out there, you can never ever take it back. So if you're not comfortable with that information being shared anywhere, don't share it. Just don't share it. And also, you're never responsible because someone else was an arsehole. Yeah. I'll shut up now, Danny.
No, it's good to hear it from somebody else who's experienced it, whose worries are that. It's just remembering that you choose. The great thing about generating your own PR and not being famous and having people make stuff up about you is that you control your. Nobody at this point in anybody's proceeding makes something up, so that the press only get hold of what we share. So what we've got to make sure, just like with your talks, allude to things. You don't need to bleed for the press the same way you don't have to bleed for your audience. And I've said this to all of you. So just be mindful of that. Play out some things. And I know that if you've got some ideas and you've got some ideas of things that you want to pitch and what have you, give us a shout and we can support you with that and help you make those decisions.
For sure. And I think that's the thing about just thinking about the structure of the press release. You know, the power of that is in that you are kind of, I don't know how to say it, you're kind of creating your own narrative of what you want them to know, and you're crafting it in a way so that, you know, you're presenting a certain image and you're getting across all of the right messages, but you don't have to give every last detail because it's just written in a way that you're getting the essence across, because you've not had to just do it off the top of your head and just be like, yeah, because you've had time to really think about exactly how to pull this together and exactly how to craft it all. So yeah.
Cool. And the other question was, there was another question around, do any press people or journalists come to be inspired? Jo?
Well, so we do always invite the local media, but they don't actually turn up, unfortunately. So we feed them information about what is going on, but national media come to be inspired. So we have national journalists who write more case study type pieces or profile type pieces. So they come on the Friday as part of my PR panel. So yes, if you are around then that is an opportunity for you.
And they're always lovely. We've got some of the nicest people that are associated. Excuse me. We actually have like a wait list of people who want to come to be inspired that are part of the national press to be a part of these press panels. So it's really great. And they do sit and they do listen, and they do come and hang with us. So yes is the short answer. I know from my point of view, there's a couple of invites gone out to people that I've connected with who write directly for the likes of Red, for example, and I know the lineup that we've got this time, it's always juicy, and it's always worthwhile being a face on the same stage. And then as Jo was saying earlier on, it's great to be in that network. So once you've been on the same stage as someone, you can then reach out to them on Twitter and be like, I had a great time at Be Inspired. It was great to see you there. I was so nervous. How was you? And then you're in a conversation with a member of the national press directly. And it's all about building those networks like that.
And everyone that's ever been always wishes that they could have stayed longer. Every single time they're like, oh my God, I wish I could have come for the whole day. Like, the people here are incredible. They really get wrapped up in the vibe. They get wrapped up because they don't get invited to this stuff very often. They don't see this kind of world, really. So, you know, they're fed stories from their little desk in their little office in their house at the moment. So when they get to actually be a part of events like this, they really get excited and they really, really buy into it. So definitely an opportunity to follow whoever we reveal when we reveal.
Absolutely. Sam's just asking, where is the PR party? Is it online?
Yes, the PR party is in PR You Can Do It in our free group.
And we'll pop you the link to that group in your email as well, so that you can go and hang and go and get involved in it. It's brilliant. Tommy's just saying, I've come to the realization that I may never be able to live somewhere where people don't know I'm trans, and that's scary. I hear that.
Yeah, like that. Here, I don't know, because Hereford's so small and it's so safe because it is so small. I mean, it's not really safe, but it's very safe compared to the majority of places. I don't know, it's something that I was thinking about the other day, and I thought, wow. You know, like when I first started work, nobody knew, but now obviously everybody does know because I've told them.
Well, exactly. Now you're kind of, getting behind this and owning it and actually standing with it. But then
also thinking of, maybe I'm being a bit dramatic, but like the potential danger of, like, hopefully we're moving up north at some point this year, at the end of the year.
Come move to Preston. We'll look after you in Preston, babes.
And I don't know, it's very different to here. Like, I don't even know how to describe it other than it's like going, I've never been to a rave, but it's almost like Hereford. You're just kind of on your own, like in a little cottage.
Having a little tea party.
You go to a rave.
And then you go up north and it's like you're in some absolute rave, and it's completely different. It's a different life up there.
I think it's interesting. One of our new mutual contacts now is a lady called Stephanie Hurst. Steph Hurst is a radio DJ.
Out here today, actually, in terms of this event, to be honest.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And she doesn't really talk about her journey anymore. In fact, I did an interview with her, and the topic of conversation was that she wasn't going to talk about her journey and her transition. We was just going to talk about her as radio DJ, her as somebody who was like, so again, with your positioning, you can choose what you do with your story. You might not, dependent on where you are and dependent on how your own story maps out, you might not be able to control that which you are afraid of, but what you can control is how you tell that story and how you stand in front of it. And that's how maybe I'm not in your position. There's no way I could pass comment on it, but things that I would be thinking about is, how do I take the power back then? If that's something that's going to be relinquished, how do I take the power back, and how do I own that, and how do I put the boundaries around that for me?
And make sure it's kind of not controlled, but people only know what they need to know, rather than everything. I don't know.
Yeah, it's worth thinking about, and we're all here for you to moot those things out. Like, we got you.
That is part of that exploratory process of really deciding and defining what you're going to feel comfortable with, and you don't know that until you start to go down that road, do you? And then when you want to stop yourself, but being able to think that through in advance is a powerful thing, actually, to be able to
you take that back right at the start of proceedings. It's yours to start with, right? And then I kind of like what Lindsay does with the whole fierce fat feminist stuff. She owns that space now, and it's up to you. And I know the strive for normality is the thing, isn't it? It's the normal people. And again, Sarah's nodding along, it's when it comes to being disabled, in Sarah's case, it's not about being an Olympian. It's not about having to overachieve in order to be valid or noticed as a person. It's just being a person,
just being yourself.
Yeah, and there's loads of power in that, depending on what you want to do with it. But I get you, and I hear you, and we're all here for you as you're exploring that as well, my darling, and we love you. Anna, you have your hand up very politely like this.
So it's kind of a question and a gentle reminder. Jo, do you need talk titles from everybody when I collate their locations?
Yes, absolutely, I do, because we feed that into the national PR piece.
Did you see the subtle hint there, everybody? Done your talk title and your talk description yet? Please complete the form in the members area. Thank you very much.
Consider yourselves told.
And they also means we can update the graphics, because at the moment your speaker graphic is just your beautiful headshot. Whereas what we'd like to do is splash your talk title to start getting people thinking,
what they're going to speak about. The brilliant thing about this lineup is the diversity of topic. We've got an incredible array of topics that we're covering as part of this event. It's one of my favorite lineups yet. And I don't say that to all of the clients, I don't, but this is a real array, and the audience are going to get so much from it. So we have those talk titles. Prash, what's my title? Oh, God. We've got it written down somewhere, Prash. We've got it written down. I've got it in your notes. Is it I'm not one half of a whole, something like that? I'm sure it's that. So any questions before? I know we've run a little bit over this evening, but I'm sure you'll agree that it has been really informative this evening, and hopefully a little bit exciting, maybe a little bit scary, with regard, not a whole like this, a whole as in a whole person. I know my title, but not my talk, and I'm freaking out. Amy, we've got it. Don't worry. When have we got time in? We've got time in. Get one-to-ones booked in. If you don't have anything imminently and you're feeling those wobbles, Sarah, I'm looking at you. If anybody's feeling wobbly, I know, I'm expecting you. Get into Anna's emails and schedule to some time. I'm too scared to commit. I'm likely to change my mind. This is one talk. I want you to all remember, this is not your night at the Apollo. It feels like your night at the Apollo, but this is not your night at the Apollo. This is your first big gig. And my first big gig, I can't even remember what I spoke about. So this is just you getting on stage. This is just you creating those assets. It's getting your chops around these structures from which to deviate. It feels big, yes, because it's a great event and all of this, and we attach everything to it, but it's still just a practice event. Don't tell anybody though. Don't tell anybody that. But this is your practice event. So then you can go out with your talks and go and get booked and do all of those phenomenal things. So don't be too scared to commit, because guess what? We're not holding anyone to it. We're not going to marry these talks. We're not bound to them for life. You don't like the talk title, change it for next time. That's what you go out and sell. That's what you put on your speaker sheet. You can change it. Everything is changeable. All right, my angels. So Anna's disappeared. So she's juggling. Feel better after speaking to Anna the other day. That's good. And she's dashed back. It's okay. It's all good. Anna, I was just double checking.
Tried to put it
down. I would just wanted to check in with our topic for next week. That's all. But she's gone again. So it's all right.
Like a jacket on.
So thank you so much for spending your time with us. I know you've just got back from LA, you jet setter, you.
You know what, I've got my cup of tea and normally have a glass of wine, don't I? But I've had my cup of tea to try and keep me up.
Having a cup of tea for keep going with the jet lag and all of that. But we really appreciate you. I can't wait to see you at Be Inspired, if not before then. But thank you. What's our next topic?
The next couple of weeks we've got hot seats, because obviously you guys are now into talk writing, talk editing, getting in the Facebook group and actually speaking the words out of your mouth. You completely fluff it up. It doesn't matter. It's a safe space.
Yeah.
A couple of hot seats. And then on the 9th of March, we're going to be joined by our videography team, the Film Farmers.
And they're amazing.
Because then you'll be ready. Then you'll be ready when you've got that talk more secure to hear what they need to give you. And then we'll have the photography session, and then you'll be ready to hear what. So we just need a couple more weeks of the actual talking, practicing,
getting it all nailed,
process, and then you'll be ready for the next chunk of info from us.
Is that all right with everyone? So come next week, come prepared to talk about your talks. Thank you to everybody that's getting into the rehearsal space to go and talk your talk through. You're not doing me a favor by doing it. You're doing yourselves a favor by doing it. So make sure you go and do it. There's a reason why I ask you to do it. We're going to be moving within your one-to-one start to talk about memorizing and recall and the difference between the two. Hopefully you've all written your talks by now, or have a structure for your talks. I want you to chunk it out into sections now. So what's the beginning? What's the next bit? What's the next bit? Color them in. Give those sections some colors. If you haven't done that already, make sure you do that. And I will see you, if not in your one-to-ones, I'll see you next week.
Good luck, everyone.
Love you.